What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to NBA Weekly. I am your host, Pee Wee the Plug, 1/4 through the wire, number one Knicks fan in the world, aka Mr. Know It All, and welcome back to part 2 of me answering all of your NBA draft questions. We're a few days away from the NBA draft. I'm excited. I know y'all excited. So let's get to the rest of these questions. I got Young Ghost. What teams without first round draft picks do you think will trade to acquire one, and which teams with first round draft picks do you think will trade out? Well, obviously for me, I think the teams that are more likely to trade draft picks are the ones that have multiple. So the Rockets have 3 with 2, 23 and 24. My Knicks have 19 and 21. And then the Thunder have 6, 16 and 18. So teams like that, with multiple picks, I think they'll be more prone and more comfortable to moving away from their picks, especially the Rockets and the Thunder with 3 picks. And then the teams that would be looking to get into the first round, I think with all the guards, especially the guards that could potentially fall out of the lottery, I think the Bulls really should try to find a way to get into the first round. I think the Mavericks, with a lot of the 3-and-D players that we're seeing be available, post lottery, mid first round, the Mavericks could definitely use a middle first round draft pick right outside the lottery. Same thing with the Blazers. We seen what's going on with the Blazers. They're trying to find ways to get better. If they could sneak inside, the first round and get somebody who could be a 3-and-D, older veteran player, out of college, it can kind of help early. That would be good for them. They really haven't had impactful draft players in a while, drafted players or in a while. So it would be nice to see them, and they're kind of out of ways to get better. So I would look for the draft as a way if I were the Trailblazers. But yeah, those are the teams that I think can move in and move out of the first round. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Wakawi. Waka Riri, whatever. Y'all see it on the screen. I don't know how to pronounce it. But he says, what multiple year college player can have an impact like some of the few guys from Nova, like Mikal Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo, and Jalen Brunson? This is a very good question. Multi-year players, I think Trey Murphy III from Virginia, 6'9" frame. Defensively, obviously, with 6'9" frame and the length, he's obviously tremendous on the perimeter. Even in isolation, he's shown that he can slide his feet, use his length. He knows how to use his length, block shots on closeouts. And then what I like most about him is that he has an identity on the offensive side of the ball. He knows who he is. He knows what his strengths are, and he's fine with that. You usually see players try to do too much. But he's very self-aware of who he is offensively, and I feel like he can come in and make an impact with that type of mindset and awareness. If he was drafted to a team like the Hawks, he would come in and surround Trae Young with defensive length and size, and then also be an option to drive, kick out to. He'd just be ready to catch and shoot, play his role defensively, and then out in transition. Like I said, he's 6'9", so he can get out and finish, and I think he can really make an impact. Chris Duarte out of Oregon, a guy that can play on ball, off ball, guards, comes from Oregon, head steady. And then obviously the other older class players like Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, they'll do well with that. Franz Wagner out of Michigan is another one. James Bouknight. So there's a few. I know you're probably referencing guys outside of the lottery, not so much Bouknight and Wagner. But I think Trey Murphy, Kessler Edwards to a lesser degree. You know what I mean? Could really be another 3-and-D threat or potential guy. So yeah, it's some guys. It's some guys that can really come in and impact at the next level. So it's gonna be interesting to see where they go. J King the Illest, what's up, my boy? He says, Bouknight a choice to be confident about if Scotty Barnes is not available at 6. I wouldn't mind the Thunder taking a look at Bouknight at 6. I wanted to in my initial mock draft way long ago. I was saying they should look at Bouknight. But from what I'm seeing and how it's looking, I think it's going to be between Scotty Barnes and Kuminga. So if they don't have Scotty Barnes available, they'll go Kuminga. If Kuminga's not available, they're going to take Scotty Barnes, which makes sense for them. It makes sense for them. Scotty Barnes could help them. Kuminga, they're a team that could be patient with Kuminga to try to help his offense catch up to the defensive side of the ball. And they've thrived in doing that. Lu Dort's transformation and growth offensively has looked good. Even years ago with Terrence Ferguson and his athleticism, like his jump shots were starting to catch up a little bit for them. I remember him being like this 3-and-D guy next to Russ after just being like this athletic guy. Jeremy Grant's first offensive steps and leaps came with the Thunder. You know what I mean? He came there as just like this athletic guy who can guard, but then he started making threes, playing with Russ and stuff. So the OKC have a recipe of development for guys. So Kuminga is a guy that maybe could thrive and reach his fullest potential with the Thunder. So we should see. Comtillo said, do you think Jalen Suggs will be a superstar? When I think of superstar, especially point guards, I'm thinking of names like Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, what Trae Young is about to become. I don't think Jalen Suggs will get to that level, but I definitely think he can be all-star level. I think he could be in the range of like Kemba Walker is, a guy who makes multiple all-star games, can be the best player on the team for a few years, but I think after a while, you'll see that he may not is best suited as your best player. I think he's a guy that's going to, help a team go. So if you have a team that has a bunch of different things and they just need an engine, he will come in and be the driving force to your engine. Maybe necessarily not the guy who down the stretch is carrying you through the playoffs and, is putting the team on his back. But again, as being an engine who's making plays for others defensively, being that guy who's spearheading the defense and being aggressive and being that leader and bringing that swag, he could be that. He could definitely be that. But I don't think I see superstar when I see Jalen Suggs. I do see a very, very good basketball player, and especially if he goes to the Raptors where he's, projected to go. And he's going to be playing with Pascal, OG, Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, Chris Boucher, Malachi Flynn will be backing him up, and just that team of development and how they play. He would thrive there. He would thrive there and really do well. So yeah, Jalen Suggs will be an all-star. Don't know about superstar. Not saying he can't though. Not saying he can't. Blake said, opinion on Sharife Cooper. What player would you say he could possibly mold into? So when I think about Sharife Cooper, and in my notes that I have right here, this is my draft notes. I think I had Sharife Cooper. I had like shades of like Ish Smith with the speed and control of the ball and some of the vision. I also had like Dennis Schroeder, and I had Composer from the Nuggets with the flashiness and the vision and the creativeness. So he has a speed of like Ish Smith, non-stop go mode, some creative and flashy passing and IQ of like Composer, and then I wanted to mix it up, and it's just a little bit of like Dennis Schroeder. Because Sharife Cooper isn't afraid to drive the ball out of pick and roll like Dennis Schroeder. And Dennis Schroeder isn't a lights out shooter, but he's respectable. And if Sharife Cooper can be respectable as a 3-point shooter, where guys aren't just going under or sagging off of him, he can be legit. And depending on where he goes, because of his IQ and his passing and his vision, he maybe could be a Rondo if he goes to the right team. He would have to step up defensively, but if he went to a team that had a lot of weapons and just allowed him to create for those weapons and do him, he can impact. He can impact. I like Sharife Cooper. He does have his cons with, like I said, the shooting consistency is going to be very big for him, and also his decision making, to not get too fancy. He can get too loose with the ball at times, and you want to see how he does in the pick and roll at the NBA level. Floaters and mid-range pull-ups and different things like that, because the NBA is a different monster. So we definitely will see. But I think a lot of this depends on where he does go, though. He's a guy that's depending on where he goes. A lot of guys outside of the lottery or even outside of the first 5 to 10 players, a lot of them are relying, and even then there's an argument that they're relying on it too. A lot of players are relying on it. Majority of players in this draft rely on where they go. It plays a big part on how you develop and reach your fullest potential. But Sharif Cooper is good. T-Wolf Zach says, who is someone that you feel is overhyped and who do you feel is undervalued? I don't think anyone is really overhyped in this draft. I think everybody is talked about in a rightful manner. I don't think anybody is really much overhyped. But what I will say is I do think Trey Murphy is undervalued. When I look at Trey Murphy and I look at his profile of 6'9", with the length, like I said, his ability to guard with his length, slides his feet really, really well, can get out on a break and transition and finish because, again, he's 6'9". And then offensively, for him to know his strengths and weaknesses of limited shot creation, so he doesn't try that much. He's going to catch, shoot, get in the corners, self-awareness, self-identity offensively. I think that's the type of prototypical role player that I would want. So when I see mock drafts of him falling low in the 20s or even being available in the early 20s, late teens, I'm kind of blown out of my mind that a guy like that would be available that late, because I see teams like the Grizzlies at 17. It's crazy to me that the Grizzlies would pass on a Trey Murphy type guy. The Wizards at 15. It's crazy to me that Trey Murphy would be passed on by Washington. Even the Warriors at 14. I could see them taking an upside guy like Kai Jones out of Texas if he was available. But it's like, man, Trey Murphy is really what you want if you have things in place and you just need people and pieces around to complement what you already have. He's ideally what you want. Great size, great shooting ability, and like I said, great self-awareness and self-identity on the offensive end. Because the worst thing that you can do is draft a guy who has all the tools to be a role player, a great role player, but he doesn't know up here that he's a role player. So he's trying to do shit that's outside of his domain, and then that hurts you. So when you do have a player who projects to be an incredible role player, and not only is he going to be incredible, but he knows that he's a role player and he understands his role, oh yeah, it's out of here. So I just feel like a little bit Trey Murphy is undervalued in that sense. Next question comes from Toasted Toddler. He says, how much stock do you put into the opinions of big-time draft guys like Mike Schmitz and Rashad Phillips when it comes to breaking down prospects? For me personally, because I have my own basketball intelligence, I've been watching and breaking down the draft since I was legitimately a kid. I've put in my 10,000 hours of studying the game. So for me, I don't really put much stock into what they have to say. I respect their work. I respect their opinions, but their opinions are like everybody else's to me. They may not be similar to mine. I may have a different opinion, but I don't really look for guys to give me any information. I like to go out and get it myself. I like to watch the film myself. I like to come up with my own player comparisons and my own thoughts and opinions about guys. So it's neither here nor there for me. It's not a part of my process at all. If I do come across it, it's just me being a fan, and I'll see what they say out of curiosity, see if my opinions match theirs or how different their opinions are. But it's not anything that I am relying on. Like I said, these are guys that I respect and I'm a fan of, but I don't rely on it. And while I will say, like Mike Schmitz, his content is a little different because he has a series where he actually talks with the prospect. So I do enjoy watching his breakdowns with the prospect, because that's a different thing than just giving out your opinion. But shout out to them. I definitely like them with a lot of other people as well in the draft field. So Devon Jacobs asks, do you think the G League route hurt Jalen Green's stock? Even though I think he had a really impressive season, like coming out of high school, he had all this hype build up, most likely to be the number one pick. Now, most mock drafts have him third, fourth, maybe fifth. Not saying that's bad, obviously. Well, I'll say this, Devon. I don't think that Jalen Green is going to go 4 or 5. I think he's going to be top 3. And I don't think he was ever the number one pick. You might have had some hoop mixtapes or something like that were saying potential number one pick, but a lot of people knew Cade Cunningham was going to be the top player in this class, I will say. I don't want to say G League hurt him, but college could have probably done more. Especially for somebody like me, I don't really put too much stock into the G League shit. Like a lot of people, he played in the G League, grown man, NBA players. But it's like, are they really NBA players? They're in the G League for a reason. These are guys who aren't in NBA, and they're in the G League because they can't be in the NBA right now, or for whatever reason. So like, Jarrett Jack isn't right now an ideal NBA player. So if you're doing work against Jarrett Jack, I don't know how to gauge that, because yeah, he is a grown man, but I would put a little bit more stock in you going up against your peers that you're going to come into the league with. Like, yeah, I would like to have seen Jalen Green go up against a Cade Cunningham or play against other good players or teams. Like, we got to see Cade Cunningham go against a Baylor team that had, NBA players and was one of the best team, and we got to see him go against them. We got to see Evan Mobley in the tournament against Kansas and UCLA, and like we got to see a lot of peers in this draft class play against each other. And Jalen Green, Kuminga, Nix, and Todd, they were all on the same team, so we didn't even get to see them play against each other, and they just played against young guys who are in the NBA but aren't good enough to play. And we saw older guys who once played in the NBA but kind of are older and out of the league. So it's hard to gauge. It wasn't like they were playing legit NBA competition like Zach LaVine and the Bulls, or they played against LeBron and the Lakers. So I definitely think college could have helped them a bit more, but I don't want to say the G League hurt him at all, especially if he went for financial reasons. And look, he's still projected to possibly be the second overall pick, so how much of the G League really hurt him? It's possible that it didn't even do anything. It didn't hurt him at all. So we will see. Black Wing, shout out to Black Wing. Black Wing says, what do the Warriors do if they can't find a trade for their picks? Well, the Warriors, to me, at 7, should take somebody that fits what they do. Somebody that makes more sense than like the Davion Mitchell pick everybody is talking about. I would like Moses Moody, Franz Wagner, you know what I mean? A bigger size wing who can defend, especially in team defense. And, he's going to be able to knock down shots. I think he's going to project to be a better three-point shooter than the numbers say. He comes from Michigan, played, under a professional coach who played in the league, Juwan Howard. He's intelligent as an offensive team. He's just a really good player, is a good team player that could fit into what they do. And then at 14, you can take a chance on somebody with some upside like Kai Jones. Kai Jones is a quick on his feet big who show rim protection, can outrun all bigs because he's a former track star. Shot the three, lob threat. Very, very, very low, not low, but high upside guy who is a low chance of not reaching his fullest potential with the Warriors, because they're not going to ask him to do too many things, and the things that he does do well, he would do perfect with them because it's the Warriors. Like, everybody just fits in nice with the Warriors. But I think the best bigs that fit in with the Warriors are the ones that have simple task of just protect the rim, run the floor well, set screens, because you're Kai Jones. Sometimes you can pop, sometimes you're going to roll. Switch on defense and hold your own. Like, he would fit in really well with them. So that's what I would do. Use one of my picks for some upside, and then use the other pick for somebody who maybe not has such a high ceiling, but he has a high floor and will be able to contribute to some level in that first year. Next, we have Ethan. Ethan asks me, which Baylor guard do I think is a better prospect? Which Baylor guard do you think is the better prospect? Shout out to Ethan. I'm going to be real honest with you. I think it's a little 50-50. Davion Mitchell with his penetration and his defensive prowess, on the ball pressure is really exciting, but you have to respect the fact that Jared Butler can play on, off the ball, and the three-point shooting is outstanding, and the fact that he's been cleared to play in the league is another good one. He's a sound team defender as well. Maybe not as good on ball as Davion Mitchell, but he's not a liability either. And then he's more versatile to play with. Like, you can put him on a floor with Trae Young. You can put him out there with the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George, and he can spot up. He can handle it a little bit. He's versatile. Davion Mitchell, he's probably going to play a little bit more on the ball. Like I said, a better on-ball defender. But at times, Davion could be a little out of control. You know what I mean? Decision-making can be iffy at times and whatnot. and you don't know if his shooting was a fluke. Is it consistently going to be as well as it was in Baylor? Jared Butler has always been that type of shooter and scorer for Baylor. Davion Mitchell kind of had a breakout year. No knock against him, but it's pretty even to me. I think both guards are going to help whatever team they end up on. Swanee says, who is your favorite prospect outside of the top 6 or the most consistent? I like Moses Moody. I like Franz Wagner. I like Trey Mann. I like Trey Murphy III. I like Chris Duarte. I like guys who are going to come in and do what they need to do. Guys who are, more so of your safer picks. As far as upside is cool, but I like guys who have low risk of not being on shit. I like guys that can come in and contribute in a lot of different ways, and who are more like staying power. I don't want to get this upside guy and then he turns out to not be shit and then he can't even touch the floor. Like a lot of guys I name, at worst, they're going to be 3-and-D guys. You know what I mean? And they're going to find a way to get on the floor. There are some upside guys I like Jalen Johnson. I think Jalen Johnson is real, real good. I do like Josh Giddey, his size, the passing, obviously. But I do like, guys who can shoot, defend, pass, play without the ball, and are versatile defenders. So that's what I look for. And then the last but not least, we have Sehu, who says, with the 6th pick, and you had Bouknight and Kuminga on the board, who are you taking and why? If it was me and I was a Thunder and I had the 6th pick, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to probably take Kuminga. I like Bouknight better as a prospect, but specifically for OKC, like I mentioned earlier, they just do a real good job of developing players. And for some reason, they allow players to, if they don't reach their fullest potential, they almost reach. So if there's a 100% threshold, OKC gets their players to at least 70 to 75% when they're developing them. And I think if Kuminga gets to 70 to 75% to 80%, he's going to be damn good, especially because you already have Shea. So I just like the opportunity that they'll be able to give him. I like the other players he'll be developing alongside, like to develop with Shea, to develop with Poku, to develop with Lu Dort, Baisley, Maladon, Ty Jerome. They just have a nice young core that are fun, and they seem to nail the process of development, and I think he can gain a lot from being developed and also having opportunity. They give you best of both worlds. You have opportunity and you have development. You can't develop, in my eyes, without opportunity. You can train behind the scenes all year long, but until you're actually on the floor playing against the LeBron James, the Kevin Durant's, the Steph Curry's of the world, you won't have that experience. And development starts on the floor with playing. So OKC has the best to offer that. So, like I said, I want to give a special thanks to all of you guys who submitted questions for me to answer. We're definitely going to do this again for the post-draft reactions, where I answer questions about your favorite teams and who they drafted, or your favorite players in the draft and where they landed. Any concerns or thoughts that you guys have, we will address. And I'll see you guys then. As always, this is NBA Weekly. I am Pee Wee the Plug, and I am out. Peace.